Now, for the past few days of the Dhamma talk, we talk about to give you some understanding about the progress of this vipassana. We start to notice the characteristics of these various sensations of the body, like rising, falling, sitting, touching, pain, and also the mental objects like anger, restless mind, and so on. Then, for the part before this, we talk about what to do, how to do the walking, how to do the sitting, how to note specifically, carefully, so that the mind can able to notice all these characteristics. To understand how progress takes place of this vipassana, also in a way, it gives us a kind of like a roadmap for the progress. At least we are not we don't create a lot of ideas and a lot of analytical mind or logic or whatsoever. Then we thought that vipassana should go in this way rather than it goes in the way that the reality should be. Nowadays, there's a lot of, sorry to say, but there's a lot of like wrong views and wrong teachings out there, even within Theravada community in the world. You know, when we talk about enlightenment, where yesterday we talked about when it comes to this arising and passing away, and then when this arising and passing away completely stop because of that path and fruition consciousness, the understanding, the development is supposed to come this way, but in the world out there nowadays, enlightenment can come in any way they like. For the past few days talks, if you cannot remember everything, actually it does not matter. But what matters is that at least you understand that the development of this progress is that you need to notice this mind and body process in terms of anicca, dukkha, and anatta. Nowadays there are types of vipassana which I would stay away. I've met with people who goes for vipassana or so-called vipassana for 2 weeks. Last 3 days, like this time, last 3 days of the retreat, what they ask you, the yogis, to do is that you do not sleep for 72 hours. You don't sleep for 72 hours. And then each yogi is given a counter, a hand counter. So what happened is this: when you do the sitting meditation, all right, because you don't sleep, right? So you don't sleep. Therefore, when you sit down, the body will nodding a little bit, right? So when it's nodding, you press one time. So one nodding, you press one time. Another nodding, you press another time. Another nodding, you press another time. So if in the sitting you have 50 times of nodding, so you see your counter 50 times. Therefore, you have 50 times of arising and passing away. Then by the third day or the past 48 hours, while you're still meditating and so on, and then of course sometimes the body get adjusted, sometimes the mind become blank or clear, and like as if like suddenly you're awake from all the slumber, then that you're Nibbāna already. Because sometimes when that sleepiness is suddenly disappear, the whole mind kind of get alert. Because of that alertness, is interpret that, well, you are there. It's not, this type of teaching is actually not too far away from all of you. Not too far, I mean, as I heard that they are in Munich also. They are in Italy also. They are also in Slovakia too, Czech also. a number of these things in here all over the world. So by 2 weeks, some people believe that they are already enlightened. You see this arising and passing away because, well, to them, it's not nodding, it's not sleepiness, it's arising and passing away to them. There's no anicca, no dukkha, no anatta, nothing. But it's called vipassana. Then also there are, nowadays also I've met with famous monks sometimes. They don't talk about satipatthana, they only talk about reaching the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth, fifth, and sixth and eighth jhana. By finishing this 8 jhana through a samatha meditation, you come out from that 8 jhana, you either anagami or arahant already. So that is what is happening right now in the world. And of course there are many other things. Yeah. It's no more anicca, dukkha, anatta, it's no more cessation of dukkha. All these things does not matter. They interpret it as they like. So at least it's good that we understand what the commentaries, the old commentaries, the suttas talk about all these type of things, and how this practice progresses until the realization of Nibbāna. We go back to the talk a little bit on yesterday, talking about when one experience or realize Nibbāna. So as I said, this path consciousness and fruition consciousness, magga and phala consciousness, only these 2 type of consciousness can realize Nibbāna. Other consciousness cannot take Nibbāna as an object. Even like our mind and body processes, also there are very specific consciousness for specific thing only. The hearing consciousness, for example, can only take sound object. It cannot take a touch object, it cannot take other object. It's very specific for that particular purpose only. And so too with all other senses. When the person realizes Nibbāna as they are, once it realizes it for the first time, that means that eradication of defilements also take place. But the person only experienced this Nibbāna maybe just for a second or 2 only. After that, the mind is out from it. For the first time, you cannot stay in Nibbāna for that long. You only can experience it. Then you come out. When you come out from it, you go back to experience arising and passing away again. So how do you know that you already passed through? Well, in a way, during that time, when you experience Nibbāna, sometimes even the Mahasi Sayadaw says that some yogis experience and pass through it and without realizing that they already passed through it. For the first time, sometimes they do not know, but subsequently, they will begin to experience things differently. So everything, after you come out from it, you emerge from that Nibbāna thing even 1 second, but once you come out from it, the mind, the noting mind automatically goes back to the arising and passing away. And here, you rebuild again. Seeing all this arising and passing away again and again, seeing how it dissolution of arising and passing away, then with this dissolution of this arising and passing away, you see all different types of dukkha, and then after that, it goes up to equanimity, then again, it goes into re-experience the whole Nibbāna again. Here, when you re-experience the whole thing all over again, which I've talked about it, this one is so much more faster. Maybe within a sitting or 2, you can already achieve the re-experience Nibbāna again. Whereas before the enlightenment, before you're able to experience this enlightenment, then it's going to, it's long. From where you start until enlightenment is going to be long. But after enlightenment, until you want to re-experience again, then it's so much more shorter. Now, when you re-experience it, this Nibbāna, again and again, you go through this arising and passing away, and then you re-experience Nibbāna, then this time, you're going to experience the Nibbāna for a longer and longer period of time. So when one experiences Nibbāna, one does not go into this, one does not experience it as Khanika Samadhi, not momentary concentration, because once you experience Nibbāna, it is absorption concentration. The mind is totally absorbed in the Nibbāna. And because there's no arising and passing away, therefore there's no momentariness of anything. So it's just absorption. You want to re-experience this thing again and again for maybe some days or some weeks. It depends on the yogi. But let's say after you experience all these things, you want to go further, higher, and further. Then this time you have to kind of relinquish the absorption into Nibbāna. Again, you have to come back to re-experience the arising and passing away again and again and again and again. So it's finally back again. Even you are enlightened, after that it's back again, re-noticing this mind and bodily process. There's nothing special, It's still always everything come back to this experience of this this arising and passing away in terms of whether anicca, dukkha, or anatta. Here again and again, what we experience as arising and passing away in terms of anicca, dukkha, anatta, again and again, behind it is always removing the idea of nicca, sukha, and atta, or permanence, blissful, and self. So there's still a lot of everything to be experienced as one even after enlightenment. It does not mean that just because you've enlightened, then you can start shaking legs, getting up and then holiday. No, there's a lot of things or more to do. To give you an idea how much even a person who is enlightened, even a person who is enlightened at the first stage, and then how much more to go. Then I give you a simile. Let's say here maybe children starts off with the education from kindergarten, let's say, from 6-year-old, all right? And then from 6-year-old until, let's say, you get your PhD, that much of education, let's say. Kindergarten is where you begin to meditate, let's say. And PhD is where you attain your, let's say, you until arahantship. By reaching to Sotapanna, let's say the first stage of sainthood, first stage of enlightenment, and then 6-year-old, perhaps the first stage is only about you are at 12 years old only. So there's a lot more from 12 years old until you reach your PhD. Say 25 years old or 30 years old, you will get your PhD. And that much still you have not seen yet. And sometimes yogi thought that, I practiced this meditation for so many years and I can see this, they think that how good they are. When I look at them, you got still so far to go. You think that you are so great. I'm not discouraging you. I'm trying to say that it is a lot, even within this mind and body process. There's a lot for us to do. But if you know the technique, the walking, the sitting, and so on, this is all about repetition again and again and again and again. And again, the teachings of the Buddha, when they teach about this enlightenment, how to gain this enlightenment thing, he doesn't talk about it that all this enlightenment can only be gained in next life or in future life. He says that this enlightenment, everything can be gained in this life if you want to make the full effort towards it. As long as this satipatthana, this vipassana satipatthana still exists, yogi can still paying attention to all these realities and so on. That means the possibility of enlightenment still open. That means the path, the development is still open for it. There will come to a time that this teaching will not be there anymore, because a lot of thoughts, thinking, views, and all being slowly cover up everything. Even during the Buddha's time, that all these views already coming in, but because the Buddha is there, it prevents this view from coming, although things are keep coming in. And then once the Buddha passed away, after a number of years or few hundred years, a lot of teachings, a lot of this Buddha's teaching has been separated in so many schools of thought. And then a lot of these views being incorporated into the teachings of the Buddha, and over time it becomes the religion. So finally, we are not scholars, we are not historians to able to distinguish all these things, but we have the capability that to free our mind from all the thoughts and thinking, and truly just squarely pay attention to the reality as they really are, so that those realities show us the truth rather than we think about the truth. Also, next 2 days you are going back, we understand that sometimes we want to know what can we do when we go back. If you really want to improve in this meditation, the first thing you do, you go back, you start planning for the next retreat. Honestly speaking, not easy for us to meditate at home like what we are doing over here. But nevertheless, we can still do something to change a bit of our lifestyle and to change the way we view certain things in life, so that we are not so attached or get too attracted or get drowned into it until we forget about the mental development. It's always good that when we go back, then there must be some degree of at least a formal sitting or walking meditation. But of course, we do not have the time throughout the whole day, because a lot of us are still having career or working. But therefore, we need to find a certain time for ourselves so that we can able to do some sitting or walking. Is it necessary every sitting has to be 1 hour or more? But in the daily life, actually, we don't do that. In the daily life, every day, it's depending on how much time you have for that particular day. The principle here is about doing it every day to create the good mental habit. It's not just only about the time, but some days you have more time. If you want to sit longer, then do a bit longer. If you that day, if you don't have much time, if you are rushing here and there, perhaps you need to fly here and there, then perhaps if you have that little time, then that little time we do some meditation also, or even the thing that we learn about how to be mindful in our daily activities. Also, sometimes we can bring it back and then do whatever necessary that you need to do, but we value added the quality of the mind. We add some mindfulness as we are doing it. Every time you bring the mind back to the present, just to know what you are doing, you will see that sometimes or a lot of times actually is very difficult. One of the difficulty is because while we are doing something, the mind keep on chattering and planning and thinking about the future, past, and a lot of things is inside there. So what we can do is that we have to train the mind to keep coming back every now and then. I'm not saying whole day through, but whenever you don't need to think, when you don't need to plan, just come back to the present, and with that mindfulness, it will help to stop the thinking. Now, here we are looking at over a period of time. If you were to do this again and again every day, you'll find that when you need to stop everything, just to keep the mind in the present, then the mind could do that. Without all this thinking, the mind can stay, at least there's some peace in the everyday life. With this, again and again, when you arouse this mindfulness just a little bit here and there throughout the day, whether you are in the office or whether in the room, or whether sometimes lying down before you go to bed, if this conditioning yourself again and again over some time, you see is quite powerful. So because you have those things, you have that state of mind, then by the virtue of that state of mind, eventually you feel yourself more, in a way, much happier than before. Sometimes the happiness that comes is not because of you have a lot of things, but because there's a contentment is there. So the contentment is more like when you need things, you can have it, but when there's no need of it, you don't get attached to it, you go over jealous over it, or you don't obsessive over it. Even with that, sitting or walking, or even like all these daily activities, over time you accumulate that. Next time you come to a retreat, you see that the mind can settle on the meditation much easier compared to other retreats. But the problem with us is that we keep forgetting to do it. You go back this retreat for 1 week, you still feel the heat, you still want to do. But after 1 week, everything gone. Maybe some of you past the gate is already gone. So now another thing to help you to make us remember, is actually what the Buddha says is having the right friends or the right spiritual friends. Now, spiritual friends come in different forms. For example, the Buddha says he is a spiritual friendship because he guides, he keeps you in the right path, he prevents you from the wrong path, so that one can able to attain the enlightenment free from cycle of birth and rebirth. So it also is good that actually, if you have a group of friends or a group of people that, for example, if you have a society or an organization that once a week you come together and meditate together, or some Dhamma discussion together, then those things, it kind of like give you the momentum and give you the push to go further. Like in Malaysia, in my place, in sometimes also in Reverend Sujiva's place, then you see that the devotees, even whether there's monk or no monk, teachers or no teachers, they also will come together and meditate together. So we don't use, just for you to see that sometimes when we meditate here together, even you see other people meditating, walking, sitting, you give you that energy just for that you want to do it. But then all this strong mindfulness, all this concentration that you develop for the past 10 days, 12 days or so, but then once you go out of this meditation center, the whole mindfulness, everything will start to go down again. So therefore, you don't expect that your everyday meditation is going to be as clear as what you have over here. But what is important is that you have the skills of how to do the walking, how to do the sitting, how to note the pain, how to note the sitting, touching. Because in the next retreat, when you come back, automatically you know what to do. So the skills here, when the next retreat you come in, then because you know what to do, it's within like 1 day, 2 days, or maximum by the 3rd day, your mind is already at the maximum, at the optimum. Whatever that you didn't finish in your last retreat, you continue with this retreat because the mind comes up to its optimum. You don't have to wait until like 1 week or 10 days. Then you want to go back already. You have those skills. The skills are so important, and that skills, make sure that from now, this retreat until the next retreat, hopefully it's not too long away. Because if this retreat and the next retreat is 5 years away, then everything will be very rusty. But sometimes some of us may not have the 5 years or so, because look at our age. How long can we live? Francesco, how long can you live?
At least 80.
We hope. So we never know, you see. You have all the skills for right now, but if you don't have the health, then that will be another big problem. Usually, what my advice also, when you finish the retreat, do the exercise whatever you need to do. Exercise every day, so that at least you have to keep your health at least on the good side, so that next time you want to meditate or you want to do anything, at least you have the good bodily condition for it. So this exercise, although we are trying to meditate and so on, we make sure that our exercise we keep our body healthy. Or you need to take some supplements or whatever, go ahead. Just make sure that your body is healthy, that next time when you come to meditation, then we can actually really push through. But when you come back to a retreat, don't become too obsessive about exercise. Some people are quite obsessive with their body. When they come to a retreat, they do all kinds of yoga, and headstand and everything for 1 hour, morning 1 session, afternoon 1 session, and night 1 session. Then it becomes too much. We don't realize that actually the walking meditation is also to keep you healthy, not only give you mindfulness, but really if you want to stay in a retreat for 1 year, that walking meditation becomes so important, because in one day 5 walkings you do, it's already 5 hours of walking actually. So when we come back to the retreat, all this exercise, this one, we put everything aside. Unless you want to do just for 5 minutes of stretching and so on, fine. But you should not be doing 1 hour and different period of time. All these things you have to put aside. Sometimes you may come to retreats, They also incorporate a lot of some yoga and meditation, some stretching. It's fine, it's up to you what you want. But for me, if you really want to train, all these things you put aside and you really just walk, sit. And that it will really give rise to a lot of development. At the end of your retreat, you'll find that something beneficial will arise. You sleep and you dream also. You think that your dream also is walking and sitting also. This is how training is like, This is how suppose the Vipassana training is like. Everything is put aside except this thing that is beneficial for the development for the progress. Now when we are out there also another thing that we have to be careful is different types of views that arises in whether modern or religious views or philosophical views and so on. This one also you have to be careful. Now a lot of these views, sometimes when we are going through life, sometimes this view feels quite attractive to our own personality, our own thinking, and it's very easy for us to kind of fall into it and get attached to it without realizing that we already hold on to it. One of the things that you have to check, for yourself is that whether these views that feels kind of agreeable to you, or sort of feel good about it. It would be good that sometimes we check whether this view is that connected to permanence, connected to bliss, everlasting bliss, or connected to self. If these type of views connected to these three, my advice is that better pull yourself out from this thing. Take for example, sometimes we do certain exercise, exercise of the body, exercise here, fast or slow exercise. And then in order for you to achieve higher level of this exercise, then sometimes they ask you to start to meditate or start to calm the mind down.
E di calmare la mente.
Then when you calm the mind down, what they want you to do also is like get your to bring your mind to merge to the universal, to the universe, to merge yourself to a certain being, for example, or to merge yourself with the quantum realm, for example. They want you to go so that you're able to achieve that higher mental state, which right now that state is connected to permanency, bliss, or self inside there. Because nowadays, when you use some word quantum, it feels very wow, sophisticated. Hey, back in my hometown in Penang, this one Buddhist group it says that when you do this meditation, you merge with this. You kind of like learn to connect to this quantum realm, where this quantum realm which exists all the past Buddhas, so you can able to connect with them. And this group, they are actually Abhidhamma scholars. They can tell you all the Abhidhamma, how many consciousness, how many cetasika, and all kinds of things. But then they have this type of views. So that's why, even in the Theravada or in Buddhism itself, there's so many different types of views, even connected with your exercises. There's so many different types of views. Whatever religion, there are also so many different types of views. So therefore, you have to be careful. I cannot tell you which one is right or which one is wrong, but I can tell you based on a certain principle of if it's connected to anicca, dukkha, or anatta, then it's okay. If it's not connected to it, then it can be a problem. So, you see, it's quite complicated out there. Now, another thing, perhaps it is also helpful for us. It is very helpful for us is again to observe our morality. Yesterday I mentioned about morality as something for us to abstain or prevent and also to perform. Now, here, within these two, the one that is the red line that you should not cross is always something that you need to prevent, because if you were to do it, then it's going to give rise a lot of problems. Now, for example, the red line, and let us take this 5 precepts of ours. The 5 precepts here. We don't cross the red line, because if we break this precept of ours, then it's going to be a lot of problems and a lot of unhappy resultant in the future. Now, one of the precept here, the 5th precept, connection with the alcohol and intoxicants. In Asia country, we don't have the culture of drinking. Not so much of it. Yeah. Here in Italy, you are the second highest, just below France, in terms of consuming wine. So, over here we consume a lot of wine. Now, the thing is that the precept is about abstaining from all this alcohol. But if I were to ask you to stop all this alcohol, some of you may rebel. It says that, may as well chop off my hand or my leg. I will not give up alcohol, even you chop everything off. You see, now here, for example, if you want to consume, make sure that you don't hit until you get drunk, because once you get drunk, this is where your unwholesome mental state arises without able for you to control. And once you get drunk, when it comes up, the consequences, what will happen is that I feel this is my opinion, it has got to do with how clear your mind is when you want to develop the clarity of the mind. When the consequences of the mind that is drunk The consequence of it, because when you are drunk, your mind is totally in control. So, in my opinion, that resultant has a strong effect when you want to develop the mind. Because you see, when you want to develop the mind, you need for the mind to be alert, clear, continuously clear. Whether you are doing samatha or vipassana, you need that mind to be clear. But if there's a lot of the mind that is not clear due to alcohol or due to drugs and so on, then this one, when you want to do meditation, somehow or another, this effect of it, it will affect your development towards it. Well, this is my opinion. I can't say that exactly by scientific terms and all that thing. It's not this one, but we know that the Buddha says that the Buddha says that once the mind is not clear due to this, then it will affect. There will be effect in the future. Now another thing, also it will be good for you when you go back, is that since a lot of you are also developing metta, and which is good, wonderful, So what you can do is that you also bring about the metta into your everyday life too. Sometimes what you can do also, maybe you determine that maybe, okay, for one month I will do metta only. For formal meditation, I will do metta. Then next month, I determine I want to do vipassana. Or you can do 2 weeks, 2 weeks. That is for formal meditation. But for everyday meditation, for everyday daily life, when we do things, then we can change between mindfulness and metta. Or sometimes, for example, if you are driving and you're stuck in the traffic jam, instead you curse everybody around, Myself, you say, may all beings around here be well and happy. Or even sometimes you sit in the airport, and you are waiting for the flight. Instead of just playing with the phone and all that thing, myself sit down with your eyes open if you want to, and then you just share your metta, spread your metta. May I be well and happy. May all the people around here be safe, be happy, be peaceful. With this metta and this mindfulness together, mixed together, over time, you see that it's so much easier when it comes to morality. It's so much easier for us to uphold on those morality, whether it comes in the form of giving, generosity, our service, or to prevent or abstain from certain actions, wrong actions, because the mind is much softer. Then of course, you may do some study about the Satipatthana, reading about the practice, and there are certain books are helpful. Of course, you can do that too. Which is good actually. So, I think we stop here for tonight. And tomorrow what we'll do is that we'll do a Q&A session.